This is National Girls and Women's Day in Sports, and find out how one of the local universities celebrated it.
News 10 First at 4 starts right now.
You're watching
Philadelphia's NBC10.
Irving, Pennsylvania.
New Jersey and Delaware.
Now live.
This is
News 10
First and 4.
The Jersey and Delaware shores take a powerful pounding as another nor'easter roars up the coast, bringing a torrent of rain, punishing winds, and tidal flooding. Good afternoon. I'm Renee Chenault.
And I'm Larry Menti. We'll begin our live team coverage of the nor'easter in just a second. But first, there is breaking news in the President Clinton investigation. Here's the latest. NBC News reports that independent counsel Kenneth Starr has subpoenaed tapes from a television station in Florida, looking for evidence that Monica Lewinsky may have been with the president during a Florida visit.
That's the headline. Now the details. Starr reportedly wants the tapes from President Clinton's visit to pro golfer Greg Norman's home. That's when the president hurt his knee. The independent counsel reportedly wants to see if Monica Lewinsky attended the political fundraiser by the president at that time. Meantime, during a White House photo session with visiting British Prime Minister Tony Blair, the president repeated his denial, saying the sex allegations are not true.
Well, I've already said that the charges are false, but there is an ongoing investigation. And I think it's important that I go back and do the work for the American people that I was hired to do.
NBC News has also learned Lewinsky, who is now in California with her father, has been given an ultimatum: tell her story face-to-face to independent counsel Kenneth Starr or face prosecution. Hundreds of miles away today in Little Rock, Arkansas, no word from Kenneth Starr on his negotiations for Monica Lewinsky's testimony. However, the Whitewater prosecutor told reporters that his investigation is moving ahead quickly.
We are going by the book. We want the truth. We want all the truth. We want it completely, accurately.
We will have a live update from Florida on the Clinton investigation and Monica Lewinsky coming up on News 10 First at 4.
All right, now our other top story. The second nor'easter in a week hit the New Jersey and Delaware shore, packing damaging winds and heavy rain. The Chopper 10 gyrocam surveyed the damage over Ocean City this afternoon. The 9th Street Bridge is closed, cutting off access to the shore community. Meanwhile, residents wait for the floodwaters to recede so they can begin another cleanup. Meanwhile, in Atlantic City, heavy winds and huge waves left their mark on the boardwalk. Today, crews were out trying to shore up sections broken apart by this latest nor'easter.
It's amazing looking at the pictures of that damage. News 10 has live team coverage today from the Jersey Shore. Meteorologist John Belaris live in Atlantic City with the latest on Back Bay flooding. Terry Ruggles in Wildwood. And News 10's Christine Perez reports on the flooding in Ocean City. But we're going to start today with John Belaris live in Atlantic City. And John, what's the situation there?
I tell you, Renee, it's getting rougher at the corner of California Street and Sunset. It sounds pretty, but it certainly is not. This is one of the back bays. It's called Ducktown in Atlantic City. We're going to pan out a little bit now. You can see, as you look off into the distance, that is the Atlantic City Expressway, and out that way is towards the ocean. This is the back bay, which is going to start flooding out during, actually, this newscast over the next couple of hours, because the back bays normally flood out about an hour or two after the initial hit on the beachfront. The beachfront had tides running 4 to 5 feet above normal. Now, we take a look down here at the bulkhead. I was talking to some folks here, and in about an hour, the water will be coming over this bulkhead and then start to head down the street. Now, we're going to pan down the street a little bit, and you can see already it's coming back into the back bays. They had some severe flooding down at the coast as those tides were very high, 4 to 5 feet. And that means the back bays will be flooding perhaps a little bit higher than that, maybe as high as 5 to 6 feet over the next couple of hours. And we'll be here and we'll take you right through that. Okay, the high tides, we had the tides 237, and that created the 4 to 5 feet. The severe coastal flooding, the next high tide will be taking place late tonight, somewhere between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. That tide should not be as severe, but we're anticipating anywhere from 2 to 3 feet, maybe high as 3 to 4 feet when that tide rolls in late tonight. So we're down here, and we're going to ride this one out. And Glenn, we want to know right now, where is the storm?
Well, the storm is, John, about 150 miles offshore. It continues to move away. It is not any stronger than it was this morning. It's not any weaker, but because it's moving away, the winds will lighten up a little bit. The wind direction is also changing a little. Let me show you how that's going to affect the flooding tonight and into tomorrow. We had the winds coming in from the east that caused all the flooding along the New Jersey and Delaware shoreline. But then as the winds shift more toward the north, that's going to allow the water to go down a little bit in New Jersey, but remain very high along the Delaware shoreline, the south side of Delaware Bay, right along Delaware, and that will continue to be a major problem. Look at the peak wind gusts from this storm. Seaside Park in North Jersey, 74 miles an hour. North Wildwood, 67. Atlantic City down to Millville, 53, 54. Dover, 54 miles an hour. Philadelphia, 44. We also have rain continuing to move back in from the ocean, but that's mainly in northern sections. So Long Beach Island all the way down into the Philadelphia area getting a lot of rain, and it's going to continue throughout the night, but not falling below freezing. Now with more on the shore, we're going to go to Terry Ruggles in Wildwood.
I'm on Pine Avenue. The reason I'm laughing is I'm anticipating this truck coming behind me. They've got 5 tons and deuce and a halfs going around the streets in Wildwood. This is Pine Avenue, and as this truck goes by, take a look at the street over here. This street is flooded, and it's flooded 4 blocks away from the bay, and the people who live on Pine Avenue say it is going to get worse here before it gets better. It is cold and wet and windy, and the waves continue to pound the shore, eating sand. The water on Wildwood's famous wide beaches is almost up to the boardwalk in some places, but the big problems are near the back bays. Still gorged with water, the wind won't let recede. An hour before high tide on the back bay, and this is what it looked like in West Wildwood.
I think this is a pretty bad one. Last week's was covered the floor and we had little waves and ripples. But this here went as high as the beds.
This is the house Mary fled last night, right across the street from the fishing fleet. The water's so high the scallop boats look as if they're in the parking lot.
And of course I didn't take the beds down and didn't think to pull out the bureau drawers, and we're really wiped out now.
Mayor Fred Wager says while many were inconvenienced, only about a dozen people used the city shelter last night. And like every other beach community, this storm is going to be expensive.
Last week's price tag was around close to $300,000 last week. So I imagine this one's going to be up there and maybe more.
Now, $300,000 is the figure that the mayor in Wildwood is talking about. In Sea Isle City, last week they spent $3 million replacing sand there. It was all wiped away again. They expect another $3 million price tag for the nor'easter that we're going through right now. One more thing. You see where I'm standing? I was nervously anticipating the wake from that deuce and a half that went through because of all the water in the street. Well, the gentleman across the street says in the next hour and a half, you see the water line there along the bricks? It could get up to there. So I have to tell you, I'm not honestly sure when I come back at 5 o'clock, I will be in the same place. Yeah, if I am, I very well may be wet. But reporting live from Wildwood, Terry Ruggles, News 10.
Terry, the lady that you talked to in your story, Mary, said that this one was really bad. You've covered a lot of these storms. How does this compare? I mean, I heard earlier some people saying that the damage was comparable to Hurricane Gloria several years ago.
Well, a nor'easter can be just as bad as a hurricane. The winds may not be as forceful, but they can do just as much beach erosion and back bay flooding. I've covered 8 hurricanes for the station and a number of nor'easters, and if I had my druthers, I would do the hurricane simply because that happens when the water and the temperature is warm. This is no fun.
All right, that says it all. Thanks so much, Terry. Be safe. Well, Ocean City is also receiving a heavy pounding from this powerful nor'easter. High winds, heavy rain, high tide, and flooded streets are just a few of the problems out there. News 10's Christine Perez reports.
Strong winds gusting at around 53 miles an hour combined with high tide early this morning pushed ocean waters onto the streets of Ocean City, flooding major thoroughfares and homes in the Back Bay area. Crystal Valentin and her 2 children found themselves trapped inside their home until the National Guard came to their rescue.
I woke up about 1:30 and all the water started coming in. And 2 o'clock's high tide, so it'll be a long time before the water goes down.
tide in Ocean City happened at 1:30 in the ocean and at 2 o'clock in the Back Bay areas, flooding major thoroughfares like this on 9th Street.
Special edition of WeatherScope.
You're looking at a live picture from Virginia Beach, Virginia, where the waves are still crashing onto the shoreline. Coming up, we'll have a live report from our Weather Channel crew in the area. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of WeatherScope. We're watching a storm system that is actually moving away from the New England coastline, but it's still packing quite a punch. We are still going to feel the effects. Here's the way things are shaping up. The low is actually moving away from southern New England, but we're still getting that counterclockwise flow around it with the winds. And so as you can see, the winds are actually still battering the coast, and that will be the case on through tonight until about midnight. Here's the way things look on our satellite vantage point. The bulk of the moisture moving away. The heavy rainfall we experienced yesterday is no longer a threat, but like I said, coastal flooding, coastal beach erosion, that is going to be our main focus of attention, especially right along the shoreline. We have two crews standing by. We have Mike Seidel in Virginia Beach and also Lori Geary in Seabright, New Jersey. We'll start with Mike Seidel. Mike, what's happening there right now?
Well, Janetta, here in Virginia Beach, we're going through another high tide cycle. It's not going to be as bad as this morning's high tide, about a foot lower. This morning we had the water crashing over the concrete barrier, which also serves as the boardwalk. And this afternoon, though, at high tide right now, you can see the water is up to the boardwalk. By the way, if you're not a local or you don't visit Virginia Beach, normally when high tide appears here out on the coastline, it's about 100 feet or more away from the boardwalk. So you're looking at an area where people in the summertime or on a typical day would be walking their dogs or laying out there working on their tan during the warmer months. So the tide is still much above average, but not as bad as it was this morning. Check out the Weather Channel mass cam, and the mass cam shows you the Virginia Beach fishing pier. It came through this storm okay. You noticed a little buckling, but I talked to some locals, and that is typical for the pier. As we pan up the front of the pier with some shops, it reopened today. A lot of locals, a lot of tourists out here. Schools were closed. A lot of kids out here with their families checking out the very dangerous surf conditions. And as you can see, the surf is still crashing under the pier, and on shore we're getting breakers about 6 to 8 feet. We will be back later on this evening, and we will update you on the situation from an area known as Chicks Beach. That's a north-facing beach near the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. They had problems this morning, and with the wind from the north right now, they could be experiencing some more problems, and we'll update you with all the answers from what we find up there this afternoon and this evening later on the Weather Channel. Now let's update you on the river flooding. We have coastal flooding. We also have river flooding. This in Seabright, New Jersey, and let's get the latest now from Lori Geary. Lori?
Yeah, that's right, Mike. We're just about at the worst point right now. The Shrewsbury River is still flooding the side streets off of Ocean Avenue, even spilling out onto Ocean Avenue. Joining me right now, I have Chief Reed Murphy, who's the Chief of Fire Department here in Seabright. Thanks for joining us. First off, what are the conditions like out there?
Right now, it seems to the wind's abating a little bit as far as speed goes. We're down to about 25 to 30 miles an hour constant and some higher gusts. As you can see, the side streets are in pretty bad shape, and they'll probably continue in this type of shape for the next couple hours, I'd say, because the wind's going to continue to push the water up no matter what the actual tidal flow is.
What is your department doing right now?
Right now, we're just standing by. There's no need of evacuation. If people want to get out, we'll send a truck down for them and take them from their homes. I hate to say it, but we're kind of used to this in this area, so we just take it in stride.
What kind of damage are we looking at? You look at some of these houses, are they sustaining any damage at all?
I'd say some of the lower ones, yeah, they probably have first floor flooding, and but most people, they say, again, they're used to it. They'll probably lose carpets and things, but they have a tendency to move their furniture up and the like. Also, after the 92 storm, some people got smart and actually raised their foundations quite a bit. So,
Chief Reed Murphy, thanks for joining us. We'll let you get back to work. We appreciate it. Once again, we're just about a half hour from high tide here on the Shrewsbury River, so conditions will get a little bit worse, not too much. The winds continue, as do the rains. Back to you there in the forecast center, Janetta.
All right, thanks so much, Lori and Mike Seidel, for giving us those live reports. Now I am joined in our forecast center by Jamie Simpson. He's a meteorologist. He's been tracking this storm and all the nor'easters that we've been dealing with this season, and it's been quite a season.
It has been quite a season, and probably not the last that we'll see. But let's talk a moment about the tides that are going on along the East Coast, because during this high tide cycle, that's when we see our greatest threat of flooding. Down in Virginia Beach, they're just past the high tide. Water will start to go back out, so conditions will certainly improve there. As Lori mentioned, about a half an hour till high tide, still in Seabright, so the water still has a ways to come up before it'll recede. And then as you head out Long Island towards Boston, high tide's not until 6:37 p.m., so they still have the worst of it coming.
All right, and we do have coastal flood watches and warnings in effect. We want to show everyone those. Here are the warnings right now, and that's for obvious reasons. We are going to look at a lot of beach erosion and the flooding. We also have storm warnings in effect. In addition to that, some gale warnings for obvious reasons, that fetch of moisture moving onshore, and also the very strong winds that we've been experiencing. Heavy surf advisories in effect, you can see with the yellow shading. Even though the storm is moving away, Jamie, we're still experiencing some rain.
We sure are, and there's continuous rain across eastern New Jersey up through southern New England, and these are the areas that not only with high tide coming in the next half an hour to hour or two, continuous rains mean the rivers will still rise a bit, so they're still not out of the woods. But as we head into the overnight hours into the day tomorrow, continuous improvements.
Okay, that sounds good to me, and it sounds good to a lot of folks. Thank you so much, Jamie Simpson, for adding your expertise to this storm. As always,
She's live in Ocean City. Lisa?
Well, I'm in Ocean City right